I'm very happy to present my work here for you in the morning, so I'm happy you also made it. So, just to me a little bit background, I have background in computer science and philosophy, and apart from my research activity, I'm co-chairing the Forum Computer Professionals for Peace and Social Responsibility. So, what I'm presenting now is, first I want to start with a little introduction, then present some common AI narratives, some do-not use cases, and then finish with a conclusion and a little outlook. And what I'm presenting is somehow based on critical informatics, critical data and algorithm studies, and a little bit of data protection theory, sustainability studies, and semiotics. So first, of course, all we're hearing is AI is everywhere and the revolution is just around the corner, and it's even a game changer for the sustainable development, and those who don't join will be left behind. This somehow, in the larger picture, also extends into utopia, solving war and climate, to the dystopia, which means the end of humanity. And I want to illustrate this discourse somehow by a quote, which is: every day we read that digital computers play chess, translate languages, recognize patterns, and will soon be able to take over our jobs. In fact, this now seems like child's play. Funnily, this is a quote from 1972 from Hubert Dreyfus, which somehow shows us that the whole discussion is really long, and the imminence is somehow part of the self-narrative. And that's why I want to take a closer look, because somehow narratives conceptualizing AI shape how the discourse space itself is laid out. Although the meaning AI is not really clear, and also, but at the same time, there are real impacts of the narratives we are using on politics, policy making, and economic decisions, as Barais and Katzenbach showed. And so the method I'm employing, and really shortening here, is just collecting the strong AI narratives and analyze and deconstruct them. And for illustration, I recommend you better images of AI for exactly like countering the hype also in visual sense. I think some of the makers are even here. So the point, the key thing about AI here at this point is that it's very complex, and it's supposed to hide the complexity, but while hiding the complexity that makes it usable, it's also possible to somehow hide intentions of the actors in there. And we can always ask with those questions of risks and benefits, the risks for whom and benefits for whom, because most of the time it's not the same group of people. I will not be talking about materialities and infrastructures, although they are colonial and catastrophic. So I just want to remind, if we're talking about the narratives of AI, that the term AI came into being 1955 with a proposal for a summer research project where Carthy and Minsky and others said, well, we need a few months and then we will build a machine that somehow simulates human thinking. Was not exactly 3 months, but we're more like nearly 80 years. However, this field of AI existed beforehand, although it was called automata theory, and Turing in the 50s called what we now would call AI machine thinking, machine intelligence, and both terms are much less sparkling and also less useful for getting funds. So, me being a computer scientist, I usually go down to saying, well, AI is actually a bouquet of IT methods that are employed. Some are symbolic, so if I explicitly code knowledge into the system. Some are sub-symbolic, if I just only use like the data bits themselves, and we have several approaches there, like support vector machines, genetic algorithms, and artificial neural networks, while at the same time, right now, it's very narrowed down what we mean when we talk about AI. And there's also statistics, heuristics, approximation, sometimes also called AI. So, and I base my work on like a history of criticizing narratives. I will not go into this. You can check out the paper if you're interested. However, I want to distinguish 3 types of AI in the discussion. The strong AI, which is the systems with consciousness, with asking questions, creativity, and such, artificial general intelligence. Then we have weak AI, which kind of is able to do pattern recognition, optimize, and do some domain-specific work. And then I want to coin the term zeitgeist AI, which is, I want to, when people use it, want to demonstrate modernity, but it's changing meanings, comprise AI algorithms, IT, big data, software, program, a robot, statistic, it doesn't really matter. So always beware of the zeitgeist AI discussions. And all we see today is weak AI, and strong AI is all science fiction. So let's come to the narratives. I just group them a little bit and brush over them. First, AI deciding and having agency. If we look at what the meaning of this term actually, where it comes from as an anthropomorphization is, the core understanding there is there are alternatives, so the actor has responsibility because of the intention and the inner model based on which there has been made a decision. However, none of this is happening in AI systems. And it's also different from randomness if the results are different on different questions. So this kind of intention is a core aspect of decisions and agency, but we don't see that. The same criticism can be done concerning the terms communication, learn, autonomy. So every time we hear about self-learning systems or automated autonomous driving, we always have to keep in mind this is totally not applicable. So the right term, for example, for Gen AI would be statistics token transformers, because that's basically what those things do. It is not a language model because language has semiotics and semantics. We're only talking about the syntactic level here. So we talk about statistic distances of word in the latent space, and the form is the major property, not the content. And that's why it's not lying or imposter or anything, because there's no intention behind. Prediction, as Ayat and Lopez, for example, mentioned, is based on past data, so it could be called postdiction, and it is a mathematical projection. But is it a prediction? It depends. If I know the laws between the future and the past and the future, like with physical laws, I can call this projection prediction. When I'm talking about social science laws, then we don't have such theories. That's why it's not good to, it's not appropriate to call it this way. Then neutrality and apolitical optimization. Well, applying AI systems, there's nothing neutral or apolitical about it, because the data selection and the processing design themselves contain a lot of decisions while the designing. Modeling is always a pragmatic reduction. There are no correct models, only useful ones, and useful for whom in which situation. And even in terms of fairness, there are contradicting understandings of fairness. And we always have to decide between fairness and correctness if we look at credit, automated credit giving in terms of gender pay gap. You can either be fair or correct. So fairness is a negotiation. And also talking about optimality, optimal for whom, the criteria is always very important. If we look at optimizing traffic, doing traffic optimization, as it's sometimes being talked about in the AI discourse. Optimizing means optimizing for cars, for health, for distance, for emissions. All this needs to be pre-negotiated before applying technology. So that means those systems are intended to produce precisely those conditions as a technical result that are necessary beforehand to meaningfully apply those systems. It is circular reasoning. And this can, Pretel sometimes called it anti-political solutionism, because the pre-negotiation is just try to be automated, which does not work in principle.
Ryan, you're through 9 minutes, so...
Oh, my clock is,
One
okay.
more time for Q&A, wrap it up, sorry.
Okay, all right. Then beware of zeitgeist, and the reflection of optimization should replace the AI discourse. That's all. Thanks.